Recording in progress. All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Bird Rights Podcast. This is episode 8. This is the football boys here. I don't even know how many football pods we've done now, but this is a conference championship preview. So just like the divisional round, the wild card round, the boys are here. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by Jack Koveh, Jack Wilhelm, Declan, and Nick Miller. And we're just going to talk about these two games and also a little bit of the news too, because especially today, there was kind of a big announcement when it came to just NFL news. I guess we can start with that. I'll just drop the bomb. Dan, or not fucking Dan. The
Frank
Panthers
Reich.
hired their next head coach, Frank Reich. Yeah, I fucking
Yes.
Good job, Zach. Great
Good job.
so
Next
I
chapter
can
here.
start with that, and then we can talk about the new Jets offensive coordinator as well after that. But we can start with the Panthers. So yeah, I think it's a good hire. In my opinion, I think it's a good hire. But I'm also pissed off as a Ravens fan because I wanted him to be our offensive coordinator, but it's whatever.
Yeah, I think Frank Reich is a very safe hire. He was, and especially for the Panthers who had different quarterbacks these last few years, Frank Reich found a way to make the best out of the remains of Phil Rivers, the remains of Carson Wentz. Didn't make the best out of the remains of Matt Ryan, but turns out there wasn't much left. And he actually the 1 year he got with Andrew Luck was Andrew Luck's best year statistically. At least in a while. It might have been maybe 2014. Luck was a little better, but it was his best year in a while with Frank Reich there, and it'll give him some stability to the quarterback room because he's really good with quarterbacks. Assuming they draft a quarterback relatively high here or make some kind of free agency move for someone like Garoppolo or Carr or something like that, where it's hopefully they can have stability there, and I think Frank Reich will design a solid offense for them, and the Panthers, they're not going to be competing for a title next year or anything, but I think this is the right hire, and they'll be on the right path here soon enough. It kind of reminds me of the Doug Peterson thing last year, where it's like add some stability to an organization that's kind of been all over the place. I do want to say they're going to miss Steve Wilkes on
I agree, yeah,
defensively.
because he was really good.
Steve Wilkes did a great job with that defense, and I'm sure they would have loved if they could have hired Frank Reich and kept Steve Wilkes as the defensive coordinator, but I don't think that was going to happen. Somebody's going to get Steve Wilkes and give him a new DC job at the very least. He might get head coach looks, but I assume he's going to get another defensive coordinating job, and then maybe he'll head back into the coaching market in a year or two. But somebody's going to get a good coach in Steve Wilkes.
I was gonna say I think it's a really good idea for franchises to hire, like bring in a coach. It doesn't have to be exactly when you draft a quarterback, but bring in a like an offensive minded coach when you have a young quarterback. You see what Trevor did this year with Doug Peterson, and then also Daniel Jones with Dable. So I think just getting like an offensive minded head coach around a young quarterback is a really good thing. And obviously Frank Reich is a really good offensive mind, and most likely the Panthers will draft a quarterback at 9, whether that's Richardson or somehow they get Levis there, they trade up, they're probably going to take a quarterback. So it's probably a good idea that they can get those two paired together. But yeah, other than the Panthers hiring Frank Reich, the Jets, an interesting decision hiring Nathaniel Hackett, who was the Broncos head coach for part of last year, as their offensive coordinator. So, it just doesn't look good. This could also be a move, signaling that they trade for Rodgers, because Rodgers was the QB coach. Hackett was the QB coach on the Packers for a few years.
Yeah.
Rodgers. So
yeah. Rodgers has said a lot of great things about Nathaniel Hackett. People thought last year when the Broncos hired him that they were doing that to kind of they thought they were trying to get Rodgers, and I think they were trying to get Rodgers, but it didn't work out that way. We'll see. Nathaniel Hackett didn't look great in Denver, but I don't think, maybe that's just maybe he can't lead, but maybe he can still design an offense. I guess you don't know, but if it's Nathaniel Hackett and Rodgers isn't coming, I have a lot of questions, and we'll see what happens. But if that move ultimately leads to them getting Rodgers, obviously it'll be worth it. But yeah, it's certainly not the hire I would have made in a I guess in a vacuum. It's not the move I would have made. But if it comes with Rodgers, it's certainly worth it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have fired Mike LaFleur for Nathaniel Hackett personally,
Oh, absolutely not.
the Broncos' offense was objectively better when after they fired Hackett this year. I mean, it's a small sample, but like it's not really a great reflection when they figure everything out in like week 17, when he's already gone. So we'll see if he can be maybe one of those guys that's just gonna, like, doomed for life as an offensive coordinator, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, it's questionable for now at best.
Do you guys think Rodgers ends up there? I'm starting to think he's getting traded, and that would be the first place I would guess at this point, at least.
I don't know if he's gonna get moved to New York, but I definitely think if he is to get moved, um, New York's probably the most likely destination, especially with what he was saying on Pat McAfee over this past week when they had him on Tuesday. He was saying that like they were talking about how him and Zach Wilson have like a pretty good relationship and how um he seemed like he wanted to come and play this year, obviously. So whether that's under the Packers or the Jets, I don't really know, but he was pretty like certain about if he comes back, the team that he plays for is not going to be a rebuilding team. So if the Packers do decide to, let some of their pieces go here this season, I doubt that Rodgers will be back. So he'll probably play with another team.
Yeah, and that's probably Zach Wilson's not getting a starting job anywhere else. His only hope is probably staying with the Jets. Hope they get a starter that's, a guy like Rodgers who can, Rodgers will play 2 years for the Jets and then he'll retire. And then maybe you give Wilson another shot for 1 year because not because you want to, but because, kind of like the Saints after Breeze retired. They didn't really have any other options besides cheap Jameis. So cheap Zach Wilson in 2 years. Hope he kind of learns a bit and give him a not really give him a shot, but kind of give him a shot, if see what happens. I could definitely see that happening. And that'd be pretty interesting for sure. Or, Rodgers can go on the exact Favre path and play 1 year for the Jets, then 2 years for the Vikings, and then retire.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, I don't really know other than New York, the Jets. I don't really see a team that might be
Tennessee?
willing to take him.
Tennessee, maybe?
Tennessee, yeah, that one and New York could make sense. But I feel like a lot of the teams now, I was gonna
Vegas?
ask, like, what do we think that the like a trade package for Rodgers would look like because he's probably not playing that much longer.
Yeah. The
Obviously,
report the report said the Jets are willing to trade 2 first-round picks for him.
that's
If that's
insane.
true,
Yeah.
if that's
No
true, the
shot.
Packers need to do that so fast.
Who first?
Um,
I mean, I'm one of the biggest Rodgers fans you'll ever fucking listen to, but he's like almost
a
40 years old now.
40-year-old?
So like,
Yeah. Who's making $60 million against the cap this year? I
mhm.
don't know, man. I shit, I hope he gets traded for 2 firsts because that means, that it, first of all increases the Ravens' likelihood of keeping Lamar because nobody's going to be able to. It's like when Rudy Gobert got traded. Kevin Durant then could not get traded because everyone's like, well, we have to get like twice as much as they got for Gobert, and it wasn't possible to give twice as much as they got for Gobert. So that would set the quarterback market kind of in a
That's
wild direction if a 40-year-old was traded for 2 first-round picks, one of which is like the 12th pick this year, which is it's a good pick. We're back. We had some technical difficulties there, but as I was saying, I do think Tom Brady being in Miami could be that he's just retiring, but also I certainly, last year there was all the rumors that he was trying to team up with Sean Payton and go there. And I don't think, Sean Payton's going there now because of, the past, and Mike McDaniel's clearly a very good coach. So that's probably how that's gonna, McDaniel will stick there. But I think Brady very much so would love to play in Miami. It's a matter of if they're sticking to Tua. I wouldn't actually be too surprised if Tua stays in Miami and he takes a year off of football because 3 concussions in the span of 4 months or whatever, 2 months
That's a
is
good point.
very, it's very serious stuff. I'm sure he doesn't want to retire, but I certainly think he's thinking about his long term future because of all that. And I wouldn't be surprised if he took a sabbatical, and then Brady kind of took the job for a year, and then he retires, and then Tua gets the job back. I could definitely see that happening. I think Miami is the best landing spot for Brady. That's realistic. I no longer think San Francisco is realistic. I think they're Purdy or Lance, either one. And they have no reason to pay a quarterback. They have two quarterbacks that are very interesting, and one of them they're winning with right now. One of them they spent 3 first-round picks on. I don't think Lance is going anywhere. I don't think they're trading him. Even if Purdy's their starter, I think they're going to keep Lance around because they've had all these injuries. So I think Miami's probably the best spot for Brady. I don't know. I guess it depends on what happens with Tua. I think personally, honestly, I'd rather have Tua at this point because Brady and Tua kind of similar players at this point in their career. Brady's obviously much smarter, but yeah, I think Brady's probably hoping for Miami. We'll see how Miami feels about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's where he ends up.
I would rather have Brady for a year than Tua for a year. But let's say for next year, I'd rather have Brady. But I don't. They made it pretty clear that Tua was going to be their QB moving forward. I don't think that they would interrupt that process by taking Tom, in. But who knows? I don't think. I also don't think Brady's retiring.
I don't either. No, I
I
don't
don't think he
think-
will.
I think
got
he's going
divorced.
somewhere.
His divorce means he has to play. Like he can't be
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm not.
I
Like,
don't think
He can't
In
give
for
up
a-
to
in for a
Giselle and the
penny, in
kids
for a
for 1
pound.
year.
another year. I think it's interesting because the Tua's injuries do bring up a really good point, or a really good a really interesting way for Brady to work into that system possibly. And I think, I mean, I'm no medical professional, obviously, but Tua.
Remember what happened to Jermichael Finley?
Year when he didn't walk around stumbling half the time, but again, his long-term health could be his playing career could be over in literally one play. That goes for anyone, but his case more than anybody's. So
Oh yeah.
if they're looking for someone to step in for a year and maybe allow, I don't know how much his head could recover in a year span or what that could do for his health long term or even in the short term, because we don't really know how it's affecting him right now. But I don't know. It's interesting. I don't know if it'll happen, but that's what
I think it might be a case of Brady wants Miami more than Miami wants Brady. But I know he has a good relationship with that owner. I'm sure he's kind of pressuring the owner into letting him step in there while the GM and McDaniel are probably like, if Tua's going to play, we want Tua. Not even if Brady's better next year, I don't think he's so much better than Tua at this point currently that it's worth sacrificing what might be a 4, 5, 6 year, starting window for Tua for him to get better and stuff for 1 year of Tom Brady.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a bit of a different, like we were talking about too. It's a little bit of a different position, obviously. But I do remember Luke Kuechly, who's obviously linebacker, which is a much more aggressive position, I guess you could say, did retire because he had a bunch of concussions in like a short amount of time. So I mean,
Jermichael Finley, the Packers tight end, had that. That's the one that comes to my mind. He had like 4 concussions in the span of 2 years, and he had to retire.
It's terrible.
yeah. You can worry about that for Tua, and he's been
Yeah.
ever since that hip injury or whatever happened in Alabama. He's
Yep.
been really like injury prone.
Oh yeah, he's
So-
small. He's small for a quarterback. It's. I mean, that's part of it. Kyler's getting hurt. These small quarterbacks. People say, sometimes they're like, oh, there's so much more successful small quarterbacks now. Well, I mean, Russell Wilson was successful, but he was kind of stocky and big. Tua gets hurt all the time. Kyler gets hurt all the time. I'm kind of worried about Bryce Young for those same reasons. But these quarterbacks who are under 6 feet and not particularly like built, they've had injury problems. And Tua's been one of those guys. I think he's 6 feet tall exactly, but he's can't stay on the field. He's got and his injuries have been really like head and spine injuries. That's serious, man. That is really serious. And I'm sure he's going to be thinking about that for a little while.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so I guess we move on to our recap of the bets last week. Declan, this is more of your area. So
Yeah,
over this.
I can go into that really quick. So not as good of a week for us last week as it was for the wild card weekend. One would think, oh, it's just because there were fewer games to choose from, and I'm gonna push that narrative. If there were more, we would have hit more of these bets. But our anytime touchdown for Kittle or CD, neither of those hit. So that's not great. And Joe Mixon under 48.5 rushing yards. So that wasn't even close to hitting. That one, Joe Mixon ran all over them. However, fortunately, we did hit our plus 300 parlay, which was Trevor Lawrence over 200 yards, Christian Kirk over 60 yards, and Christian Kirk anytime touchdown. Kirk hit that on his last catch of the game in garbage time, and so did Lawrence. So they saved us there, and we'll take it. I think you're going to be, based on what you're betting. If you bet on every one of those props, you'd be slightly down for the week, just barely down, like I think about a fourth of a unit if you bet 1 unit on each. So not too bad considering we were up 3 or 4 units the week before.
Declan, Christian Kirk only had 52 receiving yards.
No, but
It was total yards.
It was total yards. We bet on Christian Kirk total yards alternate. That's why it was parlayed down so much. But he had that 17-yard rush, which kept us in it. That did save us. And then for us personally, against the spread picks this week, also not as good. But me and Kobhay split at 2-2, and then Zach and Miller both went 1-3 against the spread. That moves us to overall against the spread in our 2 weeks of this. I'm at 6-2-1. 6-3-1. Kobhay is at 6-4. And Miller is at 6-4, and Zach is at 4-6. So nobody's doing egregiously bad. No one's going crazy, but some ball knowers, and I like to think Zach's just getting unlucky. That's what I'm gonna say. That's where I'm saying.
I'm unlucky. I should be fucking 10-0. Honestly,
Zach would be 10-0.
Pal. Shoulda, coulda, woulda.
No. See, Zach just doesn't want to give his real bets to the pod because he charges for those. That's what the problem is. All right, but that wraps up.
If you guys want to put some give me some money, hit my Venmo or something.
Yeah, we'll put his Venmo in the description.
I'll give you some good betting tips then.
All right,
entry fee of $1,500.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on from those bets. Our past bets. We'll have our new bets for this week after we recap these games here. So or not recap, but preview these games here. So I guess we can start with the 49ers and Eagles. I don't know if the line's still -2.5 for the Eagles, but
it is.
Last time I checked it. Okay, yeah. So Eagles are favored by 2.5 points at home against the 49ers. And I think we've all kind of reiterated the point that these are the two best rosters in the league quite a lot. So I think this is going to be a really this game's up in the air, but I mean, personally for me, I think I'm going to take the Eagles here, and I think that they will cover. So I think they'll win by 3 or more. I think 3 is a pretty realistic winning score for them. But I just trust Jalen Hurts more than Brock Purdy, honestly. So I'm gonna go against the 49ers again. I've picked against them every single game this far, and I'm not gonna stop. I think the Eagles are the most talented roster in the league. I think they honestly have an elite player at literally every single position on the field. So I don't really see a way that obviously I can see a way that they lose. The 49ers, take over the run game and, control time of possession, keep the ball away from the Eagles offense, and kind of just, slow the game down. But still, I think the Eagles are too talented.
Yeah, I agree that the Eagles are overwhelmingly talented, but I don't think it's too different from what the Niners look like. I get, position in for every single one of their positions outside of quarterback. Obviously, quarterback is the one spot that seems like Philly has a huge advantage, and obviously that matters. But I'd also argue the Niners front seven, especially against the run, is significantly better than Philly's. And I think Fred Warner is going to have a big impact on how Philly can run the ball and how Jalen Hurts specifically can impact the game in the run game. I think Fred Warner is probably the best counter to that offense there is in all of football. And I'm very excited for this game. I think this is clearly the two best teams in the NFC. Sometimes you get to the conference championship game and you're like, oh man, I feel a little gypped. I wish we would have gotten these two teams, or I wish we would have. I feel like no, these are clearly the two best teams in the NFC. They have been all year, and we're getting to see them duke it out to get to the Super Bowl. But I think Shanahan draws up a sound game plan again. I think it's um I wouldn't call it a low scoring game, but I think both teams are kind of in the low 20s would be my prediction. 23-20 kind of a score, 24-23, 24-21, something like that. And I think we see Brock Purdy become the first rookie in NFL history to win a conference championship game and take his team to the Super Bowl. I believe the stat is rookie quarterbacks are 0-5 in conference championship games up to now. Joe Flacco being one of those rookie quarterbacks. I believe Mark Sanchez was one of them. So it's happened a couple times and they've lost all those games. But I think with this Niners offense, I think McCaffrey and Debo aren't practicing, but I'm relatively confident they're going to play. I think the Eagles have faced less adversity, I guess I would say. I think that Dallas game is going to help the Niners because the Eagles haven't played an important close game all year, maybe.
No, they have played them this year. Like here, let me
It's been a
look.
while. It's been like
end of the stretch of the year they did, but Hurts was out.
Yeah, but with Jalen Hurts with their team, I do worry a little bit that I don't think anybody thinks this game is going to be a blowout, and the Eagles just don't have a whole lot of experience in these tight games. Not that the Niners have like an abundance of experience, but they've that Seahawks game was close in the third quarter, and they showed some resolve finishing that. That Dallas game was always obviously close the whole time, and they finished that. Even like against bad teams, like that Raiders game earlier, like a few weeks ago, it's not a good team, so you'd like them to blow them out, but at the same time, they get experience in 2 minutes. They get experience in 2 minutes on defense, and I think that matters. And I think this is going to be a tight game, and I think the Niners are going to pull out in the end. And I think I'll definitely take them in the points. Not that 2.5 isn't enough to. I think anything less than a 3-point spread, you got to pick whichever team you think is going to win. You can't bet 2.5 thinking they're going to win. They're going to lose by 1 or 2. But I definitely take the Niners in the points, and I'm excited to see this game. And I think we get the first rookie quarterback ever to start in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm sticking with my pick as well from before. I got the Niners winning this one. I mean, it's going to be a really good game. I can't see a way that it's not. Like, these are maybe the two best teams in the league going at it at this point. You can really make the argument. Obviously, the Chiefs probably have a word there too, but a lot of that is Mahomes just being as good as he is. Hopefully, we don't see him be too hobbled this week. But yeah, I think that the Niners will just pull it off. Like, I think that Hurts is better than Purdy until proven otherwise. But I think Declan made some points that I was going to make as well with the close game experience, because the Eagles just ran the Giants out of the building last week, and they really didn't even have to try. It felt like the game was basically never close from the beginning, even as with the division rival matchup. And meanwhile, the Niners had to grit one out there like the whole game, and they showed some ability to make big plays when it mattered. I don't know. I think that they can pull it off. Like, Purdy's gonna have to make some nice plays. He's probably gonna have to outplay Hurts unless McCaffrey and Debo just start going crazy. But I think it's gonna be a really good game, and the Philly fans are gonna make it hard on him too. That's definitely a factor. They're gonna be insane like they always are. So we will see.
Yeah, I'm 49ers train as well. I think it's going to matter what front seven holds up more. And I think the 49ers front seven is going to be able to hold up Philly's pass rush, which has been great all year. But I think their offense will just end up just being a bit better. And I think I agree with Declan. I think it'll be somewhere total points around. I think it's going to be like a 24-21 game, 23-20 game, something around there. And definitely would agree with the fact that I just take 49ers money line because again, 2.5 is that's where it's there to trick you. 2.5 is the worst line you could possibly get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I hate 2.5 point lines for betting. Unless if you like the underdog to win, then it's great. But
Yeah.
for the favorite, 2.5 is always tricky.
Well, Zach didn't make I think you got a really good point with this matchup being perfect for Fred Warner. I mean, if they can stop the Eagles' run game and force them to pass, make them kind of a one-dimensional team, I think that would be really beneficial because that allows Nick Bosa to just go full throttle, and not let Jalen Hurts have time for these long, over the top plays to Devontae Smith and AJ Brown that they love doing. That being said, I'm taking the Eagles in this game.
Let's go.
Let's
go.
I'd rather, it's weird to even call Brock Purdy the quarterback because Shanahan's the one basically out there throwing the balls.
Yeah, essentially.
He's like it's Jalen Hurts versus Kyle Shanahan in this game.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think that they're going to be able to put up more points. I feel more confident in the Eagles putting up points against a better Niners defense than I do the Niners putting up points against a very good Eagles defense as well. But they've got Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. They've got some guys that can stop that run game. Especially
Hassan Reddick. Yeah.
Hassan Reddick.
Hassan Reddick was second in sacks this year. Yeah,
especially if both Eli Mitchell and C-Mac are both banged up going into this game. I'm taking the Eagles.
Yeah. I think something worth noting. You mentioned Bosa. They'll move him around a bit, and Lane Johnson's a fantastic player, but he is nursing that what is it? It's a groin injury he has. He was grabbing. I was grabbing at his groin after every play. Pause a little bit, but
he finished out the game.
No, he finished the game, but he
finished something.
He looked, oh God, he looked painful. He looked like he was in a good amount of pain.
Throw some ice on it; he'll be fine.
Yeah, he looked like he was in a good amount of pain. My point is, the Cowboys, I thought, kind of foolishly didn't move Parsons around all that much. Sorry, not Parsons. That was the other game. I'm thinking about the other game, but I'm saying the Giants didn't move Thibodeau around too much, and Lane Johnson kind of had it kind of easy. And either of the teams he was coming at for this week, either Dallas or San Francisco, was going to be Bosa or Parsons, and I think the Niners will move Bosa to Lane Johnson sign because Jordan Mailata is fantastic, and I think they're going to try and see how well he's holding up because he's got a shoulder thing too. He's really he played fantastic last week. So he gets credit, but it's a different animal going against Nick Bosa. So I wonder if they'll just line him up and if the reps can wear him down, and Bosa's going to be able to consistently win that matchup because Bosa's going to get whoever's blocking him. I don't care who it is, at least a few times. And if they're a little hurt, I think Bosa could really win that matchup and start to wreak havoc a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, if you line him up on the right side, though, you get the tight end chip as well. So
yeah. I guess
also I don't know how good Miles Sanders is at pass protection, but
Boston Scott's pretty good. Or is it Kenny Gainwell maybe? One of those.
They have all three of those that they throw out there. I'm sure that they'll be having them on the Bosa side every play.
I do have a few points here that I do want to make right here. So I know how you guys were talking about the whole haven't had a big game recently for the Eagles. I'm calling bullshit on that because this season overall, when it comes to margin of victory, San Francisco is number 1 in the league above Philadelphia by over a point. And the Eagles' most recent close game was in December, which, I mean, it is far away. It's about a month ago, but it was 25-20 against the Chicago Bears. So what a huge game.
If your argument for the Eagles is that they almost lost to the Bears, I'm not feeling great about that.
No. Okay. But also the Eagles offensive line, even with the injuries, shut down a pretty good pass rush attack from the Giants with Dexter Lawrence, obviously, Kayvon Thibodeau. Who else they have? Azeez Ojulari has been good for the past 2 years. pretty solid group, and they only gave up 1 sack, and it was to a safety. So most likely a safety blitz or something like that just, got through a gap. But I think that the offensive line for the Eagles, which has 2 All-Pro first teamers this year, and Johnson and Kelsey, I don't know. I don't know. I just think that
The
this
Eagles have the
team
best
is too
offensive line in
talented.
football. The
What?
Eagles have the best. I said the Eagles have the best offensive line in football.
Yeah,
At least when healthy. But I'd push back on I know the Niners' margin of victory is bigger, but that's because they beat the Cardinals by 100 twice. They got these big wins against the Commanders. They won by a bunch, but they did recently. Like that Raiders game was super close, and like they technically crushed Seattle in the playoffs. But we watched that game; that was a close game. I feel like Philly hasn't really trailed in the second. I know there was a stat at least halfway through the year, like as of their first loss, that they really hadn't trailed in the second half of games very often at all.
Is that a bad thing though? I feel like
No,
it's
it's
just
good.
more of a
It's good.
testament
But
to how
no, it's
good their
good.
team is.
It is a testament to them. It does remind me of, I know us personally, we saw that Ravens team in 2019.
They just went out there.
I think we definitely saw that team. We didn't know how to, at least Roman didn't, and the Eagles have better offensive minds than Roman for sure. There's no question about that. I'm not here to be a Greg Roman apologist, but we didn't know, our players didn't know how to play once it was kind of, the game script of all of our wins was we went out big and then we ran all over them for the rest of the game. And that's kind of what the Eagles have been doing all year. They had that one stretch after that Commanders loss where they barely beat the fighting Jeff Saturdays. And then they beat the Packers in a kind of tight Sunday night game. It was weird. It wasn't really tight. Like they had control of that game for most of it, but the Packers made it interesting. But then after that, they blew out the Titans, they blew out the Giants. They played that close game against the Bears, but it wasn't really close. The Bears kind of had a backdoor cover in that game, and then Jalen Hurts got hurt. So it would
The
be
Giants a close game at the end of the season, but the Giants were resting.
the Giants weren't playing anybody, and the Eagles were playing super conservative. And
Hurts was still injured.
Yeah, Hurts was injured, and he was playing. He was playing not to get hurt, not playing like aggressive and trying to win. But it's not like I'd be shocked if the Eagles won. I certainly could see it happening. But I do think the Niners, just their personnel and Shanahan. Not that Sirianni hasn't been great, but I'm taking Shanahan over Sirianni in these types of games. And I just have more faith in what Kyle Shanahan will do when it gets tight and buttholes are puckered at the end of the game. And hey, that's the old I Maverick saying. They remember I Maverick would say that because his butthole's puckered right now. And I trust Robbie Gould more than Jake Elliott. That's important. Robbie Gould never missed a kick in the playoffs. It's gonna matter.
He's a fraud. He's a fraud kicker.
He's a fraud. Why?
Kyle Shanahan is also a known choke artist in the playoffs. Even though he wins games, he always chokes. Choked in the Super Bowl. Chokes in
That is true. He did choke in that Super Bowl.
chokes in the
Other
Conference
Super Bowl
championship with
He's
Jimmy G
choked
last
twice.
year. He's a choke artist. Choked in with the Falcons, obviously. 28-3.
Do we want to move on to the
That's
next
before he
game?
had. That's before he had Brock Purdy. Now he has Brock Purdy, and everything has changed.
Yeah, he only had the MVP of the league that year. That doesn't matter. Yeah.
Let's
Mid
move
Ryan,
on.
yeah, mid Ryan.
Let's
Mhm.
move on.
Okay, let's move on to the Bengals Chiefs game here.
Hey guys, go Eagles, guys. Go
Oh
Eagles.
God,
Let's go Eagles.
Bengals Chiefs, the line's -1 here for the Chiefs, which is kind of crazy. We were talking about this before we started the pod. The Chiefs were actually like
They're
+3.
2.5 point. They're 2.5 point underdogs on Tuesday.
Yeah, now it's -1, which is kind of odd. But yeah, they're at home against the Bengals, who haven't lost a game since like October, I think. Yeah, I mean, what are we thinking on this? Obviously, Mahomes' health is a concern, but he hasn't worn a walking boot when he's been in public or with the media, which is a good sign, I guess you could say. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it's fuck the Bengals. Us Ravens fans here in Baltimore, we do not fuck the
Understatement.
Bengals. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I wouldn't allow
Here,
myself to
go ahead.
pick the Bengals in this game, even if I thought it was the right choice, which I don't. I'm taking the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs are going to win. The Bengals players, not even just the fans, the Bengals players have been so vocal all week, you know, and I haven't heard a peep from the Chiefs, you know, and
Eli
that's because
Apple pisses me off so much.
don't get me started, but you know, the Bengals did win last year against this team, and you could say that this Chiefs team is a worse team than they were last year. I don't know if would you guys say that? I think they probably are.
Yeah, it's worse.
I mean,
Well,
Mahomes is hurt,
personnel-wise.
and they don't have Tyreek Hill anymore.
Oh yeah, Mahomes is also banged up. That being said,
The defense is a little better.
Defense is their defense
It's a little
is a
better.
little bit better. Yeah, I
that's
was
fair. Yeah, I also think McKinnon and Pacheco are better than
And also the
Clyde
receiver
last year.
room, Hill's gone, but the receiver room as a whole, the Chiefs have kind of really well built, Juju and MVS and Hardman
That's fair.
and Tony. They have a bunch of solid guys. Last year it was Tyreek Hill and Demarcus Robinson, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
who
guess
was
Hardman
that?
was there, but yeah, I guess Hardman was there, but Hardman's better now.
Hardman is way better this year.
I'm
yeah.
taking the Chiefs. I think it's going to be Andy Reid masterclass.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mahomes playing with a chip on his shoulder.
I hope Chris Jones just absolutely spits on Joe Burrow's face the
Chris
entire
Jones
Should
is
happen, yeah.
Chris Jones is
I
a
hope
defensive player of
he
the year case
literally
for sure.
crushes him with his body weight every play.
Oh yeah, we were watching.
Wow.
I don't know about you guys, but I was watching Stay Hot, and the boys here, we love Stay Hot. Bird Right's favorite podcast, Stay Hot podcast. Please,
Probably sub on our
Please
YouTube
sponsor us.
please sponsor us. Please join us for a podcast.
Sponsor us. That's not how that works.
But
Yeah, but
Yeah.
just
I'm
ignore
on the pod. That's all.
Theo-
the
A
phrasing.
Theo,
podcast being sponsored by another podcast.
Theo was talking about how Chris Jones has been possibly the best defensive player in the league, and he's had like an Aaron Donald kind of like an Aaron Donald like season from D tackle. He's just absolutely obliterated everyone who lines up across from him. And the Bengals offensive line is so bad, and obviously they played really well against the Bills, but Chris Jones is a different animal. So
I don't understand that at all. That might have been one of the most surprising things I've ever seen
yeah, I know.
watching football. The way the Bengals O-line played against that Bills D-line, I don't know how to describe it. I can't explain it.
Well, the Bills nose tackle got hurt in the beginning of the game, I think, and he was
Ed Oliver's not a great run stopper.
Ed Oliver's he's more of a D tackle than a nose tackle. Yeah, they outperformed. I don't think the Bengals O-line was particularly amazing. I just think
Played well.
I mean,
They-
Mixon
they were
had
fine.
giant holes.
yeah, I
Mixon-
think
Mixon didn't even play well. There were just massive holes from the run through every single
running
play.
game. They were great in the running game. I mean, the pass game, it's not like Burrow was just getting the ball out quick as far as throwing the ball.
Yes, I mean, you always
yeah.
do that,
Yeah, I also
out of necessity.
I also think I'm taking the Chiefs as well, which is the Bengals should win this game. I'm going to preface it with that. The Bengals should win this game. They have the better roster at this point currently, the better roster top to bottom outside of offensive line. Their receiving core is obviously better. Their defense at almost every level is better. And not the secondary is the corners, I guess, is because the Bengals have good safeties, but the corners, Cam Taylor-Britt's playing well. And Dax Hill's kind of going up.
Yeah, I gotta
everywhere.
say, we disrespected the fuck out of Cam Taylor-Britt only for him to have an unbelievable game.
Yeah,
He's a good player, I think.
yeah.
Everyone on the Chiefs
crazy.
defense is just so young.
Yeah,
I heard
for
it.
sure.
I don't know if it was last game against the Jags, but they were like everyone but one starter on the Chiefs is like a first or second year player.
Yeah.
And
There's some good
second-
players. Trent
Yeah.
McDuffie's been solid. Karlaftis has been solid. Chris Jones is amazing. Obviously, he's maybe the best defensive player in
Bolton's
football.
young, but he's been amazing.
Nick Bolton's young and really good. They got a lot of, they've got a lot of interesting players over there. They lost Charvarius Ward last year, which hurt, but they kind of replaced that corner room and it looks solid.
Still have L'Jarius Sneed, Justin Reed that signed in free agency.
Chris Jones has still not got a postseason sack, right? Unless he got one this week, but they were mentioning that quite a bit, and so he's waiting on that to happen.
Yeah, I think that it could be the week this week. But my point is, if we were taking the quarterbacks aside, I'd take the Bengals. If you were taking quarterback coach out of it, which you can't, so I'm gonna do this for a second. I'd take the Bengals for sure. But Andy Reid, I trust infinitely more than Zach Taylor. And I think, as good as I think Joe Burrow is, I think Joe Burrow is unquestionably a top 5 quarterback. He has a case for 2. I wouldn't put him at 2, but he's up there. I don't want to do the whole argument right now. I know Zach doesn't like
We'll
that
wait
take.
until the offseason to have these
Yeah,
arguments.
we'll wait to talk about it. He doesn't like that I say Joe Burrow's a top 5 quarterback. He thinks he's half of Kirk Cousins. That's fine.
No, he's better than Kirk Cousins.
Okay, he's slightly better. He's
Kirk Cousins with drip.
We'll wait till
Kirk
Lamar's
Cousins
a
with
Falcon, and then
he's white Kirk Cousins. But we're I even Mahomes on a leg and a half. It looks like he's going to be okay. I think Mahomes is so much better than every other quarterback in the league, and I hate doing this because he's like the Chiefs are also one of our rivals. And I don't like just talking about how great Mahomes is all the time because Chris Collinsworth does that enough for everyone else. But I really do think, so does Nick Wright. I really do think Mahomes is so much better than Joe Burrow, and I think Andy Reid is so much better than Zach Taylor. Obviously the Bengals have had their number, but I think that changes this week. I think Mahomes finds a way. It'll be a close game, but at the end of it, I think the Chiefs pull out, and I think we're getting the Chiefs-Niners Super Bowl again.
If I'm Chris Jones, I'm walking in the locker room and printing out a picture of Burrow head and just putting it right there. Or Burrow. I mean, that's you can't take that disrespect.
I also got the Chiefs winning. I mean, it should be once again a very good game. We're getting to the end parts of the year where all these games are so exciting and competitive, and like this is the class of the conferences.
And the Giants versus the Eagles, that one too.
That one also happened.
And then the Giants.
But by this week especially, you're not going to get like a complete stinker of a game. But no one said it was going to be that. I mean, I think the Chiefs are just going to be able to pull it out. Like, I can't believe they lost last time. They really should have had that game, most people would think. And they kind of just took their foot off the gas pedal and let it slip away. I'm not trying to discredit what the Bengals did in coming back, but it was a pretty unexpected. That doesn't usually happen to the Chiefs offense.
That was the only half of bad playoff football Patrick Mahomes has ever played.
Yeah, and it was enough
he's been great every time he's been on the field in the playoffs, except for that one, the second half.
First half of the Super Bowl.
The Niners Super Bowl, the one they won.
Yeah,
I guess that's fair. He wasn't great in that one either, but I guess it gets glossed over because he won. But and also he pulled it out in the second half. He played fantastic. But I do think it's important to mention, and the Bengals have beat the Chiefs 3 times in the last 13 months. People mention that a lot, as they should. The Chiefs had a fourth quarter lead in all 3 of those games. That's not to say anything less of the Bengals, because obviously you gotta hang on to those leads, and the Bengals managed to come back from those leads. That matters. But at the same time, you feel like if the Chiefs can get a fourth quarter lead again, I think they're going to have learned from their past mistakes, and they won't, like in the game this past regular season, they had that fourth quarter lead, and then they got to like 4th and 2, and it was like a 57-yard field goal to go up by I think they would have gone up 7. They were up 4, maybe something like that. I forget exactly maybe they were down a little bit, whatever it was. A lot of people were clamoring for them to go for that instead of kicking the long field goal. They end up missing the field goal, and the Bengals end up winning that game. I think if you get to that in the playoffs, I think they're going to trust 15 to make something happen there. And I don't think they're going to make any mistakes like that. Even though Andy Reid actually does have kind of a weird playoff history of weird clock management stuff, especially back with the Eagles and some of the stuff early with the Alex Smith Chiefs.
Andy Reid was known as a guy who couldn't get it done for a long time.
Yeah, the most talented quarterback ever kind of changes people's opinion, huh?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Chiefs also have a better running back group this year.
For sure.
Last year.
McKinnon's been a revelation.
Yeah, last year, I mean, Jerick McKinnon last year.
Pacheco's also been unbelievable.
I was gonna say
Pacheco's
Pacheco was
unbelievable.
their big addition. I feel like because Jerick McKinnon last year had 12 carries, 65 yards.
No,
and
I
then
mean as a receiving back, because now they have
Mahomes,
McKinnon as the receiving back and Pacheco as
runner,
the
yeah.
bruiser and the speed
Ground and
bruiser.
pound.
What about Clyde? No, I'm kidding.
Clyde's a bum.
It's not,
I think he's still hurt right now. I don't know if he'll come back at all.
I don't
but
think. Yeah, he's even
they
if he
don't really
wasn't,
have much space for him at this
they should probably cut him.
juncture.
Honestly,
Yeah, I guess I can make my picks since I didn't officially do that, but obviously I think I'm going to take the Chiefs. I think they're going to cover as well. It's only -1. I think that they'll cover,
to pick him.
but I am worried about a Travis Kelce masterclass here. If I'm the Bengals, he had 14 catches for about 100 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Jags, and I just don't see why that's not going to happen again. He's just so good. He is making a strong argument here and putting on a great career where he can be, GOAT tight end caliber when he's retired, because he has been absolutely outstanding for so long now, and he's still doing it. Even without Tyreek, they haven't missed a beat, and it's because of him, because of he always can find a hole in the defense, and always gets open. So I don't know. They don't really have that big play ability anymore. But what were you saying, Nick?
I was just, this is not really on topic, but as he keeps having like season after season, at least for me, it's hard not to put him over Gronk already all time, in my opinion.
Yeah,
he's up there. I'd probably have Kelce over Gronk all time. It's tough because of Gronk was obviously a level of a blocker that Kelce was not, but
Kelsey's
Gronk also has more like playoff success just by virtue of being on the Patriots.
Kelsey's actually going to pass. Kelsey's going to pass Gronk's all-time stats this week.
Okay, true. I just meant like Super Bowls and stuff.
I mean, in the playoffs, he's tied for receptions and he's one off for
yards.
For touchdowns. I think he already passed him in yards.
Yeah, he'll be able to break all of his records and maybe break all of Tony Gonzalez.
Actually, it might have been the other thing. He might be tied for yards and already passed him in receptions. Regardless, he's going to pass him in a bunch of stuff this week for playoff stats.
You were saying those, Zach?
Yeah, I was just saying how without Tyreek Hill, obviously their explosive passing game is not even close to the same. But I think Juju's still a pretty good wide receiver. Tony's made plays here and there. So I think they have like a solid group, and obviously also Jerick McKinnon, the running back, who's been a weapon in the passing game. So I just think that this team is really battle tested, obviously, has so much playoff success. They know what they're doing. They're at home in Kansas City. And I think that after the loss last year, they're definitely playing with a chip on their shoulder against this team. And I think that that's going to be the reason that they win.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick. Mahomes, it seems like even with, I agree though, less weapons he had last year didn't affect his stats on the season at all. But I do think
total yards in NFL history.
I mean, I do think though that in the playoffs is when the star players kind of come out. Big time players, like the big time plays and big moments. So I do think them not having Tyreek Hill could be, still matter a lot in this game, even though Mahomes' numbers are unchanged and their passing offense is still, at least on paper, as good as it's ever been. But I think that his loss will be felt in this game. I think Wilhelm's the only one that hasn't picked yet.
No, Wilhelm picked.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, Chiefs.
All right. Yeah. All right. So I guess we can move on to our bets and then finish up with the Nick Miller question of the day. Because, like we said last time, we are actually legally obligated to do the Nick
He
Miller.
gets 100% of the company if we don't do the question.
100%. Okay.
I was
going to say, I'm going to take my 90% of the company if you guys skip out on this.
Yeah. The contract said after 2 weeks, it goes up to 100%.
Again, this is more your territory, Declan, or anyone else. If you guys want to
I can go into this. So our first prop bet, we like not a prop bet, but an under we like is the Bengals Chiefs game. We like the full game under of 47.5. Last year the game went under that. These Bengals playoff games haven't been all that high scoring. And honestly, neither of any of the Chiefs playoff games. I think 24-23 get you under that 47.5 number. And I think I think that's kind of the ceiling of where I see this game going. I mean, it certainly could go to overtime. That could screw us, but I think the under 47.5 is a prop we like for this one. We also went to at plus 105, Devontae Smith over 5.5 receptions. Charvarius Ward has been locked down this year, so he's going to be on AJ Brown. And look for Devontae Smith to get a lot of looks because of that. So we like that bet for sure. And then our parlay is a bunch of San Francisco numbers teased down a bit. So this is at plus 270 odds. It's 4 picks. We're teasing San Francisco to plus 7.5 to them getting a full touchdown. We're taking the alternate over under at over 41.5. I believe the full game over under is set at 46.5. So that's teased down 5 points there. Purdy over 200 passing yards, which is also teased down, and then Kittle over 40 reception yards, which is well, that's all teased down to negative 160 type odds for all those things, and then the plus 7.5 is at like negative minus 260 or something, and we get those 4 picks together gets you plus 270, and that is our parlay this week, and we feel good about that. We've hit all of our parlays so far. So we're feeling good about that. Again, mortgage your house, mortgage everything you have to make these picks. You will not regret it.
We know you already now have a second house from the previous time that you did
you
that.
already
Your
now have 2
mortgage
houses.
screwed on your last.
Yeah. Hopefully you bet with us for the wild card weekend. But even if you bet with us last week, we hit the parlay, so you're about even after last week, and you're still up on the whole time. Have you guys seen that guy on TikTok who's doing the 10 days to get to $10,000 thing?
Oh yeah,
That's
even odds every time.
at even odds starting with $10. That guy is going to make so much money for fucking FanDuel when all of these people start doing this. They're like, oh, I can do this. I can get to $10,000, and you just can't, guys. Don't do that unless you're doing it with us, because we're going to do it.
Yeah, unless you're failing us.
We're the only ones who can do it. We have the insider information. But
I am Vegas.
I am Vegas. Hello, my name is Vegas. All right, that kind of wraps up our picks there. So I mean, we just have the question of the day, and then
For the best part of the show.
It's time.
I appreciate that. I agree. All
Got your
right,
notes
everyone,
apps.
get your phones ready.
Okay.
What's the topic of this question here?
On top of this question,
Yeah.
I am not going to say because it can somewhat spoils the answer. Who has the record for the most receiving yards in a Super Bowl?
Are there any names?
Nope.
Okay.
No names this time. I'll give you a bonus half point if you can tell me
Oh, I know who it is.
how many they had.
I know exactly who it is.
Hmm.
I think.
You better be
He had some record. I don't know if it was
Bonus
one of the other.
if you can tell me how many they had.
All right.
If we guess how many they had and we get it wrong, do we lose any points?
No,
Is it
it's just a bonus. It's just a bonus half point if you get it right.
I got my answer.
Me too.
I have no idea.
Do we need to know the year?
I don't know if
just-
I'm
or
right
just-
though, but
No, you don't need to know anything except who it was
Okay.
and
I think I know it.
potentially how many they had.
I don't really know the year, but I might know
Go
the
first.
person.
Wilhelm, do you have an answer?
Not yet, no. I have no idea.
Do we have a timer?
I mean, not an official one.
Well, it's gonna take 30 minutes to get.
Who
his
is Tandon
Trevor,
Doss?
I'm ready. Just go.
All
All
right.
right, all right. We'll go first.
I can't
can't
see.
see.
Eli Apple's burnt toast is in the way.
Put your body in front of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, put it right here.
on my
just say it out loud. You're going first. Doesn't really matter.
Randy Moss 210. I don't know, dude.
Randy Moss 210. Okay. Zach.
Edelman 181.
Okay. Declan.
Jerry Rice 225. I believe against Cincinnati he did that.
Okay. Kobe.
I put Deion Branch.
Wow, everyone had a different answer.
Any yardage?
It's actually a great
I
shot.
said 185.
Deion Branch is a hell of a guess.
Yeah, I actually the second you
He
said
won.
it-
He won Super Bowl MVP too. So that's a great guess, but that is unfortunately incorrect. The answer is Jerry Rice against the Bengals in
I
the
knew
Super
that.
Bowl.
Was it
With
225?
Jerry Rice was too obvious.
215 receiving yards.
I knew it was a 5. I didn't know.
Yeah, very, very
I-
close. He had 11
Ah.
catches for 215 yards and a touchdown. He won Super Bowl MVP against this team right here.
I almost said Jerry, man. Like it just didn't. It seemed like it was too obvious.
That's why I
yards-
was. I didn't.
have a
even-
question. How many yards would Jerry have had against this man right here?
Oh,
450.
4,000.
double.
Dude,
And the-
I was when I said I thought I knew the answer, I changed my answer after I said that too. I picked fucking James White, but I'm pretty sure he had set the
Dude,
reception
running back
Falcons game.
most receiving yards.
James White 200 receiving yards.
Nah,
in the
dude,
Super
James
Bowl.
White was a wide receiver one that Super Bowl. Swear to God, he literally.
James White. He went crazy.
He had a
Brady's
good
gonna
game,
do
yeah.
No, okay, yeah, that's why I
you
picked it.
guys. Yeah, but you guys all overthought the answer. It was just it's Jerry Rice. It's the
The
I knew it was
Falcons
the
game,
Bengals.
he
I
had
know he
14
went-
catches, which was the most
I watched-
in Seattle history.
I watched the all the Super Bowl replays every year. I don't watch all of them, but you see some of them. And last year I watched that Niners Bengals one. I'm like, Jerry Rice has 1,000,000 yards. I didn't know. I knew it was I thought it was 225. I was so sure I had it, but we'll take getting the right answer.
very topical question as well. Niners Bengals. I hope that is not a repeat because it will mean
No, I
got
hope
both
not
my
either.
picks wrong.
Yeah, all right.
All right,
Randy
I
Moss
think it wraps
wrapped
for Zach.
Randy Moss has had kind of
Yeah.
shitty Super Bowl numbers. I don't know why. I just couldn't
Yeah.
think of like a
How many
name.
Super Bowls has Randy Moss
Especially
played in?
against-
It was the
Us.
Giants one.
He's
Just
played
like
for the
against us.
Patriots and then played for
And
the
us.
49ers.
Oh, the
Niners. Yeah, against
Niners.
us.
Yeah.
He had one
because-
catch against us.
He
Was
a
he
bum on
technically
that.
the wide receiver 2 of that team?
Yeah,
Maybe. Yeah.
Like,
it was
Yes.
Crabtree and then
If
Randy
you're,
Moss.
if you're putting him
Moss.
again, if you're putting him
in-
above Ginn, then yeah.
In true Greg Roman form, having a completely washed wide receiver 2 can't do anything. That's
Yeah.
That was
amazing.
a lineup though.
I
Crabtree,
mean, what is the difference between DeMarcus Robinson and Randy Moss? If we're
I
like
mean,
really
Drake
get
Moss
into
was
it.
like 40. I don't
Demarcus
know.
Robinson beat Eli Apple. I mean, did Randy Moss?
Yeah.
Can Randy Moss say that?
I don't
How many
think
touchdowns?
so.
How many touchdowns did Randy Moss have this year? Oh,
All right,
0?
let's
That's
finish this
zero, yeah.
freaking podcast up. Finish it up.
All right, yeah. Let's
Get this
wrap
over
the
with.
pod up here. This is the Bird Rights podcast. This was our conference championship recap for football. I think we'll have a pod
preview.
preview. Sorry, preview. We'll probably be recording our basketball pod tomorrow, so that'll be out probably Saturday. This pod will be out Friday, tomorrow, or whatever day you watch this. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next time.
Peace.
Thank you.